What's up guys, my name is Ace, and with the weapon balancing update that we got earlier this week, as well as the addition of the Barebones playlist, I thought it'd be a great idea to share some of my favorite class setups to use in this new Barebones game mode. Of course, just like with all of my best class setup videos, these are class setups that work for me and my personal playstyle, and also with this video, I'm generally going to be focusing on the guns that recently received a buff, just because I'm currently really enjoying using them, and I feel like it breathes a little bit of life into the game, because for many of these, they were guns that were previously not really used too much. So first up, we have my ABR223 class setup. If you guys remember from the beta, this gun was completely overpowered back then they nerfed it pretty much into the ground, so it was really a below average gun, and it has been for quite a long time. But with this past week's update, they did give it a little bit of a buff in a couple areas, which makes it a far more viable choice than it was before. Now, I'm not saying that the ABR was returned to its former glory and it's once again the best gun in the game, but it is a lot nicer to use now after this update. So with this one, we've got the reflex sight, although you can swap that out for a recon sight if you want to get a little bit of a tighter burst, because the recon sight does help with the recoil. We've also got quick draw, stock, as well as the grip attachment. For equipment, we're using a concussion grenade, which is very, very powerful in Barebones because you can't use special issue equipment, and concussions will keep you stunned for quite a long period of time unless you have tac mask. As for our perks, we've got Scavenger, Gung Ho, as well as Dead Silence. These are just sort of my staple perks most of the time. This class setup is really good for going on longer streaks, I find. With this, my playstyle is more so hang back and pick people off from a bit of a distance and try to keep my engagements at least to like mid to somewhat long range. And therefore, Scavenger really helps, otherwise you'll be running out of ammo on a streak. As for Gung Ho and Dead Silence, I mean, I've explained this a million times before. Gung Ho is amazing if you want to be a little bit aggressive and you don't have to worry about sprint out time. And then Dead Silence, especially in this game mode, is very important because there is no acoustic sensor, and therefore you are literally dead silent. Nobody can hear you at all unless you're sprinting within like a foot of them, but in that situation, they're gonna know where you are. In addition to that, I do feel like the competition is generally a little bit better in the Barebones playlist, and this means I feel you're much more likely to be running into people that have those gaming headsets and will really hear you coming if you're not using Dead Silence. So that's the first class setup that I've been having a ton of fun with in the Barebones playlist since this update. Now let's get into an SMG class, and this one is with the Daemon 3XP. I've really been enjoying the Daemon since this update as well. It did get a slight buff to its 6-shot kill range, which is nice, but I think a lot of it is I just forgot about this gun, so I haven't really been using it lately, and now that I'm using it again, I realize how good it actually is. So with this, for our attachments, we're going to be using High Caliber 1 as well as High Caliber 2 and Rapid Fire. With Rapid Fire, you essentially eliminate that burst delay, which is really nice for getting sustained fire out there. With this one, we don't have any equipment, but for perks, we are using tac mask because, like I said in the first class setup, concussion grenades are very powerful in this mode, and therefore there's a decent number of people that are using concussion grenades. So oftentimes if I get into one of those lobbies where a lot of people are using concussions, this will be one of the class setups I'll go to. So we've got that tactical mask, but in addition to that, we have our standard perk setup. We've got Scavenger, Gung Ho, as well as Dead Silence. So if I'm on a map that's a bit more close quarters, or if I'm going to be playing the objective super hard and I really need to get in there and I'm worried about those concussion grenades, then this will be one of the class setups I pull out. This brings us to the next class setup that I have for you guys, and this one is with the KN57. I know I recently did a KN57 class setup in a previous video, but this one's for Barebones, and with this we're using Quick Draw, Hybrid Mags, Rapid Fire, and Stock. And then for our perks, we're going to be using Tactical Mask, Gung Ho, and Dead Silence. Now, the reason I'm using Tactical Mask instead of Scavenger on this particular class setup is, first up, I have Hybrid Mags, which gives you a really good amount of total starting ammo, so you can go on a little bit of a streak before you start running out of ammo, and in that time, I will often just pick up a gun. And the second reason is, once again, I want that concussion resistance, but I also want that concussion resistance on a class setup that I'm a little bit more comfortable at longer ranges with, just in case I happen to be on one of those maps that's generally more dominated by those mid to longer range sight lines, but people are also using concussion grenades, because my Daemon class just won't keep up in those situations. So if you do decide to use this class setup, just keep in mind you'll probably want to try and pick up a gun at some point throughout your streak, just in case you end up running out of ammo. So this leaves us with one last class setup I wanted to share with you guys in this video, and this is another SMG class, this time with the Cordite. With this one, we're going to be using extended mags, which just gives us a ridiculous size magazine, plus a really good total starting ammo, so we really don't need to use Scavenger on this. We've got Rapid Fire just to improve our base time to kill a little bit, and Grip just because it's nice to be able to have that little bit of extra control over the gun. For equipment, we're actually going to be using 2 concussion grenades on this class, which can be very annoying to run into, but at the end of the day, if the enemies haven't equipped themselves with some tac mask classes, that's on them, and therefore I'm going to use this and gain as many advantages as I can with these concussion grenades. And finally, this just leaves us with our perks. We've got Tac Mask, Gung Ho, and Dead Silence. Now, Tac Mask is very important on this class, first off, so you don't end up accidentally stunning yourself super hard, because that's really frustrating when that happens. But more importantly, this is often the class I find myself switching to if I run into a lot of concussion grenade spam. It's basically my way of fighting fire with fire, so I pull out my super concussion grenade class that also has tac mask just to really annoy those people that were throwing a bunch of concussions at me. But with that, that's going to wrap it up for all of the classes I wanted to share with you guys in today's video. I'd like to know in the comment section below, what's your favorite class setup to be using right now in the Barebones playlist? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.